Good morning, everybody. It's Chris Blandin De Chalain with the 4 Majors Notes update for the 2nd of September 2013. Hi, guys. Hope you had a fantastic weekend with family and friends. Going to be looking at the 4 Majors this morning, starting with Euro against US dollar. And let's have a look and see how we finished off the week and how we are going to potentially, well, let's look and see if there's any potential setups for this week in particular. So, end of last week, a lot of selling, bearish engulfing candle at a resistance level. And what I did was I took you can see that I have my monthly fib here in the blue line, weekly fibs in red, and then the yellow dotted line on my daily fibs. And the daily fib primarily was just taken from the current low that we saw here in early July to the current high, which is the resistance high that we had at this tweezer top formation in mid-August. And I mentioned if we do get a tweezer top at a resistance level, eventually the outcome is potentially going to be negative. And sure enough, we had a bearish engulfing candle at a resistance level, taking over a number of days of indecision here. We had a sell signal, and sure enough, we saw the downside. And in doing so, moving towards these daily fib retracement areas in terms of the 23.6, which happened to be a prior resistance level and support, and then down towards the 38.2, which correlates quite nicely with the price support and resistance level, which is also above the weekly, and included on the daily is that institution moving average, this green line over here. So we have a lot of potential support for price on the downside, and you can see that the first support level has been the 38.2 on the weekly, the daily fib, which isn't too far away from that weekly fib here as well. So as it stands at the moment now, you can see that we're getting a lot of mixed signals on the actual indicator box. We know that long-term sentiment has been positive, and hence the reason why we've been up. However, intraday, or the daily, 4-hour and hourly in particular, we've had this indecisive period over here where it's telling us it should be looking for negativity, and it's predominantly because we're into this resistance level, we're trading into this resistance level. And you can see that the bullish sentiment intraday has come through as we've now started seeing people taking profit at this support level. So a lot of selling, and now we're seeing profit taking, which correlates quite nicely with that 38.2 on the daily, and not too far off from those weekly fibs. So the overall sentiment is still one of positive because we're still above the institution. However, we've seen some near-term negativity, predominantly because prices failed to get a lot of sentiment on board to try and push it above this resistance level. And you can see we've had a notable number of times where on the daily we've had a resistance level. So this 13.39 and 5 still remains in play and still stays above price, so it's still very much a resistance level. So if this is to be positive long term, and you can see that the candlesticks are still blue, then we still need we do need to see price trading above this level here, and clearly the longer price failed to get above it, the more negative sentiment came in, and sure enough pulled price at the downside. So what we should be looking for intraday is potentially further negative sentiment, and the support level over here at 13.38 has been on the daily, has been that support level. But for this to be long-term negative, we do need to get below this weekly fib here. So where we are trading right now to that level, so taking price where she is now, there's a good 70 pips and change, guys. So there's still some sentiment there, some profit to be made on this particular pair. But I feel if prices finally support you, and it has done on so many other occasions, then we could see a reattempt at the 23.6 on the daily yet again sometime this week. So it's imperative this to be negative. Then we do need to see this 38.2 here on the weekly being price closing below that as soon as possible. That would definitely tell us that we should be looking for long-term negativity. We saw that recently over here back in the early part of June, where price fell into rail, and then we saw that massive sell-off. Here the same could happen, but I feel if we don't see price getting below this weekly fib over here, then it's less likely for price to actually keep falling, and we could see a reattempt to the highs. Moving on to sterling against US dollar, you could see this particular pair also has been in a long-term uptrend. However, just recently we've seen price coming unstuck, roughly around the 15.69.62 mark. We had this little shooting star, this bearish engulfing candle over here after a lot of indecision candles, and subsequently price actually played with the 50% retracement on the weekly. However, failed to actually hold on to that level, and we saw a breakthrough and then a continuation down to the 38.2 on the weekly, which also constituted to the institution moving average on the daily time frame. Since then, however, we've seen a bit of positive coming into the market, and as I mentioned, the longer she spends trading above the institution moving average, then the outcome is always going to be one to look to the upside. And we've only been above the institution moving average. This is the second time, guys, this year. So a very, very important signal, because the last time we actually broke above it, we'd failed to get that bounce on the pullback. This time around, however, we had that bounce and we saw price moving into the prior highs that we saw recently in mid-June. However, not breaking above us and carrying on, but pulling back. And subsequently, we've seen price breaking below the 50% on the weekly. Now testing, just come short of the 38.2 on the weekly, which also was the institution moving average. However, you can see the uptrend swing high, and then you can see price feeling indecisive near term. A lot of indecision, candle spinning tops and dojis, this particular one over here. And today on the market, we've had this bullish engulfing candle on the Asian session. Ideally, if this is to be long term, this needs to still stay in play. You can see the RMO is flat. MACD is still very much below the zero line. However, we're seeing high RMO indicator bars. Ideally, that needs to be above the zero line to be more of a positive stance. So get above the 50% on the weekly, which is price isn't too far away from that level, a good 22 pips away. Rather wait for a nice, if this is to be a really bullish engulf or bullish stance formation, ideally I'd like to see the daily close above the 50% line, and that would give me a really good indication that we should be looking for new highs or reattempting the prior highs back up towards at least the 1569.62 mark, and then up towards that 61.8. Too close at the moment now to the resistance level over here, which has been a price support and resistance level. So I'm just going to wait and see if we can get a confirmed close above that, find support intraday, and then we can look for potential longs. The indicator box very much positive. One or two areas where we've seen negativity, but the overall sentiment for this particular pair has been one of upside. So we should be looking for that buying sentiment intraday. US dollar Swiss franc. Here, as like its European counterpart, we saw a tweezer top on the euro against US dollar, which actually gave us the bearish negativity afterwards. Here we should have seen the opposite, being a tweezer bottom. There we go, and we saw two consecutive tweezer bottoms over a number of days at a major support and resistance level, and sure enough the sentiment was pushing higher. The indicator over here, you can see long term very much negative, and we have been in a downtrend, so that all bodes well for the intraday sentiment, or the daily and 4 hour and hourly is showing positive upside, and sure enough that's what we're getting at the moment now. However, intraday we're getting a bit of a consolidation, a mixed bag over here intraday, as prices are heading into price support and resistance level highs. So what we could expect for this particular pair, if we take a fib from the current high, this is this downtrend over here, for example, take the high of that to the current low on here, you can see that price is trading above the 23.6, which also mirrors the 23.6 on the weekly, so that's a good sign. However, you can see that the 38.2 is not that far off from where the major support and resistance line is. This pink line that I've drawn in, and you can see the number of resistance highs along here, and as price heads into those, you can see that sentiment's just backing off. The RMO is flat, however the MACD is very much above the zero line. So going through this consolidation period, you can see that the buying sentiment coming through, and sure enough we had the breakout and then the moving higher. So as it stands at the moment now, we're still looking for further highs on this particular pair. Potentially, ideally, if we're going to see long-term support, positive upside, we do need to get above this level here at the 93.75 mark. Get above that, get above the institution, and then we should be looking to target the 50%, the 61, 78.6, and then back up to these price support and resistance lines, which were on our monthlies. Last bit of the day, the US dollar Japanese yen. Here again, like its US dollar counterpart against the Swiss franc, we saw price bouncing. Here you can see in the past, not too long ago in August of this year, we saw price selling into this. However, the institution moving average coming through and helping price move higher. Nice bullish engulfing candle on this institution moving average, which happens to be a nice support, and sure enough we saw price moving higher. The overall center, this particular pair, price has found support above a weekly fib retracement area here, which is also above the institution. As long as she's trading above the institution, the overall sentiment is still going to govern the upside. You can see the indicator box very much in favor of that. Our weekly, daily, and 4 hour not really going with a true sentiment. You can see that prices are trading into a price support and resistance level high here at the 50% retracement. However, I feel if we get a daily close above here, then we should definitely be targeting that weekly fib retracement level here, which complements the daily fib, which isn't that, which is a good. That's a 99.76. From where price trading into that level is a good 100 pips and change. So RMO is still below the zero line, so we've got to be aware of that. You can see the downtrend still very much in play, hence the reason why I'd like to see more of a daily close above this area here, and also the prior resistance level high here. That would go a long way to actually telling me that price is still favoring the upside. The last thing you want to do is, the end of today, is price chasing people into the buyings, and then by the end of close today we see this exhaustion candle to the downside pulling people into it, and we end up with a nice shooting star, and then prices look favorable to see further selling towards that 23.6 on the weekly, which will complement our institution moving average. MACD is above, and we've seen a lot of buying sentiment coming through as prices have been going sideways, hence the reason why the indicator box is still looking good. So here, ideally, daily close above this prior resistance level high here, and that would then really tell us we should be looking upside for the remainder of this week. However, if we get a daily exhaustion candle here, like a shooting star or something like that, or bearish engulfing candle at this trend line resistance level here, also at the 50% daily fib retracement, that would mean that price could revert back, and a reattempt of the 23.6 on the weekly, which is also our institution, would be the flavor of the day for the foreseeable future. So very, very hesitant one at the moment now. The ongoing issues that we're seeing with Syria at the moment now, that's also going to favor. Look to see what happens with those outcomes. Any news out today that we've had capital spending quarter and yearly figures for Japan. Those came out positive. We had the Australian building approval month-to-month figures, which came out a lot better than the forecast. In fact, 6% better than the forecast. So Australia, look at any Australian crosses for any positiveness after that news announcement. We had the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank for financial manufacturing PMI results. Those came out slightly lower than the forecast. This morning we have the Spanish manufacturing PMI results at 8:15 GMT. That's followed up with the Italian manufacturing PMI results at 8:45 GMT. CAD's got a bank holiday today, as well as the US market. So we're not going to see a lot of liquidity on the market this afternoon. So if you're going to see any bang for buck, it's going to be this morning. If we don't see anything this morning, it's less likely for anything to happen this afternoon because the US market is closed. Bank holiday, be aware of that, guys. When bank holiday happens, there's not a liquidity for that particular market on the market, and if you don't get that, then there's less likely to be any true movement. So manufacturing PMI results, 9:30 this morning for GMT for sterling. Apologies, I forgot about mentioning that. So mixed bag of news announcements. Big one to worry about is we have a bank holiday for CAD, and we have a bank holiday for the US market. Okay, so other than that, keep it simple, guys. If you are using this particular template, please back it up with sound money management rules. Follow the rules of the template, guys, and then you need to back it up with very, very strong money management rules. Very, very important with any trading template that you have. Keep it simple, and if you are interested in this particular template or any of our Serene Education tuition courses, please get us or drop us an email at info@sereneeducation.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'm going to leave you with that. Have a fantastic trading day, and I'll catch you first thing tomorrow morning. Until then, you guys trade serenely.